Good morning, everyone. My name is Maya Luria with TMC for Seniors, and today we are going to be talking about recognizing and avoiding scams. I have Alan Trattenberg here with me. He is with the Tucson Police Department. He's a senior volunteer. Alan, how are you today?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Yeah, so Alan, you are going to be sharing so much information that I think people really need to know about because we are seeing so many different types of schemes these days. And so we're pleased that you were able to come and join us. You do have an online audience that's watching along with an in-person audience. I'm going to go ahead and put your PowerPoint up. So if you've got any questions for Alan, if you'll put them in the chat, I will address those with him after when he finishes his presentation. I'll turn it over to you, Alan.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Scams are getting worse. Um, Last year, somewhere around $30 billion was scammed out of Americans. Most of them were seniors. We are a much more vulnerable group of people. And, um, and in fact, actually, the worst scam ever perpetrated here in the United States was by a fellow called Bernie Madoff. But if you remember him, he scammed wealthy, intelligent people out of $67 billion. That's the biggest all-time one scam. I'm going to talk to you about much smaller scams because they go after everybody like me and you, and we're going to talk about how to be safe about that. So the first thing I want to tell you is that am I supposed to move this? How do I do that? I'm sorry.
I can do it.
Okay, I'll let you do that. Okay. So the scams are done by illegal businesses all around the world. There are hundreds of thousands of people trying to scam Americans. Hundreds of thousands, because that is what their day and night job is. And so part of the problem is that there were, back in 2022, there were 1,862 public breaches of databases in large organizations, in hospitals, in companies like Amazon and so on, and they've gotten private information that you had in their database. Banner Health was compromised about 2 years ago, and it took them almost a year to let all of their patients, my wife was a patient there, let the patients know that all of the data that they had was taken by scammers. And in my wife's case, she had back surgery, and a year later, or less than a year later before she was notified, she was getting emails from people who wanted to sell her all kinds of equipment for her back. And she said, I never even told anybody I was there. How did they know? Well, it turned out when they got a hold of all of the medical records at Banner, they just started using it, going after people, and they had the Medicare numbers and they had all the information. So we have to be very careful about the information we give out, and we have to be very careful about who we discuss any of these things with. Okay. You should know, by the way, that everybody is at risk. Even very well-educated people, doctors, lawyers, college professors, they get scammed all the time. My attorney, who does my estate planning, when I was chatting with him recently, he told me that he has a very, very smart, very well-educated, very wealthy client with a very successful business who was just scammed out of $2 million. And I said, could you tell me what the scam was? He said, no, I can't. That's confidential between my client and myself. But he said, it doesn't make a difference how smart people are. The scammers are really very smart too. And they find a weakness, a vulnerability that you have, and they will go after you. But especially older adults. And those are the primary targets of scammers. So for the most important thing is you shouldn't panic. If you get something that seems strange like that, I'm going to tell you what to do, but take your time. Don't react to it right away, and I'll tell you what you should do. And they reach you by phone, and they reach you by email. They reach you on internet, social sites. Some of them will go door to door. And there's, of course, ransomware, computer hijacking. That's a big problem, and they will try to get money from you that way. And last but not least, if you live at home and you use mailboxes, be careful about your outgoing mail and incoming mail. We'll talk about that because there are people who drive around before and after the postman looking for incoming and outgoing mail because they're looking for checks or gift cards around the holidays. The checks could be overwritten because what they do is something called acid washing, and they wash off the name of the person that you put on the check and the amount, and then they write in their own amount and a different person's name, and they go to the bank and cash the check. So there are people looking for your outgoing mail and your incoming mail. So the first thing you should know is that the federal government, meaning the IRS, Medicare, Medicaid, no federal agency will ever call you on the phone. If you get a call from somebody saying they're from Medicare, hang up. It's not Medicare. If you get somebody from Medicaid, if you get somebody supposedly from the IRS, hang up. It is not them. They never call you on the phone. They will send you something by regular mail. Medicare and Medicaid, as I mentioned, never contact you by phone. The jury duty, motor vehicle department, any state agency will never call you on the phone. There's a scam going around supposedly from motor vehicle department saying that you have not registered your car, and they're sending somebody to arrest you and charge you $400 unless you get the $400 immediately to them. Okay, that's not them. The state agencies, the county agencies, the city agencies, nobody calls you on the phone. Okay, they will send you regular mail. Okay, not email, regular mail. The banks do not call you, generally speaking. One bank, apparently Wells Fargo, will call you, but other banks never call you on the phone. So if you get a phone call supposedly from the bank and they say you have a problem with your account and we want to be able to reverse a charge against it, like $1,500 going to somebody in Texas, if that charge was not made on your account, please push 1, speak to an operator. The operator will take your bank account number and your password and put the money back in your account. No, they will drain your account because that's not from the bank. So if you get a call supposedly from the bank, the first thing you do is just hang up and call the bank on a number that you have on the back of your credit card or on the back of your bank statement, on the front of your bank statement. Call them and say, are you trying to reach me, and is there a problem with my account? And they will never ask you for the password on the phone either. They just want to know what your account number is, and then they'll say, no, we never called you. Okay, that was a scam. If anybody calls you for any personal information, your social security number, your bank numbers, even the spelling of your name, do not give out any information over the telephone. If it's somebody who's legitimate, they already know who you are, okay, and they don't need any of that information. But scammers are looking for enough personal information that they can then create a scam around and against you. If they ask for personal information, especially about social security number and Medicare, they'll tell you that they want to upgrade the quality of your Medicare plan or the services that you're getting. That's not real, okay? That's somebody trying to sell you a different Medicare plan, but it's not Medicare calling you, okay? So anybody calling you and asking you for information so they can give you a better plan or upgrade yours, that's a scam. You're not even supposed to say yes. If somebody says, are you Alan Trachtenberg? You could say correct, but don't say yes, because Google will allow people to open an account and to confirm that it's you. This person will say, I'm Alan Trachtenberg, and they say, are you sure? And the voice says yes, and they record your voice under my name. And later on, when they go in and they want to do something under my name, and Google asks for confirmation and they use my voice, yes, okay, now they have an opportunity to create a scam. So don't use the word scam, don't use the word yes. When anybody asks you, just say correct, or if it's Alan Trachtenberg, say it is, but don't use the word yes. if anybody calls you and says they are a relative, the first thing you should do is make up a name. And so, for example, if somebody calls and says, "Hi, Grandma," say, "Is this Alice?" or any other name. But use a name of somebody who is not in your family. Now, they don't know that, so of course they're going to say yes, and then you know it's a scam and you hang up. I have a friend whose mother this is a year and a half ago. She was 93 years old. She gets a phone call from a young man who says, "Mom," and she said, "Yes." He said, "Mom, they've abducted me and they're going to murder me at midnight unless you give them $6,000. She goes, "What am I going to do?" He says, "Go to the bank and get the money and I'll call you back." So she's scared to death. She goes to the bank. She asks the teller for $6,000. And she's 93, and the teller knows she never takes out large amounts of money. So calls the bank manager over and says, what's happening? Why do you need the money? And she tells him, and he says, "That's a scam, and I'm not going to give you the money." She says, "You have to give me the money. They're going to kill him." He says, "No, they're not, and I'm not giving you the money." So now she's really panicked. She goes home, and she does something that she should have done. She calls her other son and says to him, she says, "Your brother was kidnapped. They're going to murder him at tonight. They want $6,000, and the bank won't give me the money." And the other son said, "Mom, I just had lunch with him, and he's fine." But in the meantime, she could have had a heart attack. So the fastest and easiest way to confirm or deny that it's a real relative is you make up a name of somebody who's not in the family, and of course, they're going to say yes. Because if they say no, they know you're going to hang up. So they say yes, and then you hang up because it's not real. Use a different password on every account that you have, because if somehow a scammer manages to get into your account, let's say like on Amazon, they will go around to every other retailer and try to use your name and that same password to get into an account that you may have. And so some people use the same password to make it easy for them, but you're making it easy for the scammer. So you should have a different password for every single account. I know it's more work. Keep it on a piece of paper at home, but don't, first of all, don't use the same one. And second of all, don't keep all your passwords on your phone. So another story, a friend of mine, a very smart tech guy who's retired, went on vacation last year to Sao Paulo, Brazil. And he has a cell phone, and he has like a 10, maybe 12-digit number to get into the phone, a password. Nobody could guess that password. But all of his other passwords for bank accounts, brokerage accounts, everything is in the phone. But he said, "I'm not worried because they can't get into my phone." So he's walking down the street in Sao Paulo on his phone, and a guy comes by on a motorcycle and grabs the phone right out of his hand. And within 15 minutes, thousands of dollars was taken out of his bank account. Stocks were sold. All kinds of horrible things happened. And he was so smart that they couldn't get into his phone, but he never thought anybody would steal it while he was on it. And when it was on, you could get into every single password. So my suggestion is, don't try to be smarter than this guy. Don't leave all your passwords on your phone. It's just too dangerous. Okay. Scammers may call you and tell you that, or sometimes they'll email you, but most often they will call you and tell you that you have won a large amount of money in the Irish lottery. And it's $5 million, your prize. And you have to put up like $5,000. The IRS wants money in advance on a taxable income that you're going to have. So you have to give them $5,000, and then they will give you the other $4,995,000. And there are people who do that. They never stop to say, "I never bought a ticket in the Irish lottery. How could I win?" They don't even know if there was an Irish lottery, but they're so excited that they won $5 million that they put up the $5,000 and they never see a penny. It's just that money is gone. So forget about foreign lotteries, okay? Unless you actually physically bought a ticket. Now, another scam is the foreign bank scam. Foreign banks, somebody from a foreign bank will call you. Sometimes they email you because they're supposedly in another country. Often the countries that they come from are somewhere in Africa, and they'll tell you that they are an officer of a particular bank down in that country, and they need to move $50 million into the United States. Now, what they do know, and what, if you want to check, it's true, nobody can mail money into a bank account in the United States without somebody being here to open the account for them, because they don't, it's a money laundering issue with the federal government. And so what they need to do is they ask if they could put the $50 million in your account, and then when they get here, they'll take out $45 million and leave you $5 million for the trouble that you went to do that. And so people will say, sure, it's no problem, it's legal, right? And they say, of course it's legal, because we have to be there anyway. But for good faith, we need $5,000 or $10,000 in advance to allow the transfer of the money. And so people will send them the money. Okay, there is no foreign bank in somewhere in Africa that's about to send $50 million into a bank account here in the United States. But the thought of making some real money for not having to do anything special, and that's supposedly legal, allows people to, figure out, okay, I could do that. And they send them the money. So that's another one. I don't know how often, we don't get enough reports on individual scams in this country, other than knowing how much money goes out of this country in scams. Extended car warranties. NPR radio about 1.5 years ago did a whole program on the radio about these extended car warranties that are sold on television and over the radio, and sometimes by direct phone calls to you. And anyone that's trying to sell you an extended car warranty, it's a scam. They said all of them. If you really want an extended car warranty, go to a reliable car dealership. Because then when you buy an extended car warranty, they have to repair it according to the papers that you have. But the ones that you buy over the phone or by the internet, okay, you may pay $1,000 and it says that it's going to cover all these things when you need it, and you say, okay, I need a new drivetrain, and they say, well, we said $1,000, but then we deduct the age of your car, and so we'll give you $150 for it. So you're going to get scammed because it's not a real warranty. So if you really want a warranty for your car, go to a reliable car dealership, because they have to stand behind the warranty that they sell. Okay, when you are surfing the internet for a place to buy something or spend some money, go to websites that always start off with HTTPS. S means secure. If you go to HTTP, anybody could put that website up. I could do it. And I could be putting up a scam and have it make some offers and some kind of gestures of things that you would really like. And when you buy something from me and then you say you don't like it, I could say there's no return policy, or I'm going to give you 10 cents on the dollar. You're subject to getting scammed because it's not a legitimate website on the internet. But if an S means it's validated as a secure website, and so everyone, you'll see in your bank's credit card company, everybody has an HTTPS. Always look for that when you shop. And you should never use a debit card when you're buying anything on the internet. And the reason is the debit card takes the money out of your account the moment you say, push it to pay for something. Then you get some merchandise and you don't like it, or it's faulty or whatever, you can't get your money back. That money is gone from your account. If you use a credit card, okay, and there are a lot of credit cards out there that have a very, very low interest rate, because if you pay it off every month, they're not going to be charging you except for the basic card. If you have a credit card, using that, and you call up the credit card and say, I just bought something and I got a piece of garbage, they say, okay, we will contest that charge. We will not put it through until we can evaluate it for you. So they will do the homework to find out whether that was a real a legitimate company that sold you something or garbage or whatever. But once you use a debit card, that money is gone and the bank is not responsible for getting your money back. Okay, because you've given them approval to take the money out of your account. Okay, when you're looking at different websites, always check the logo of the company and the spelling of everything in the message and the English that they use, because so many of the messages coming into you over the internet are messages from foreign countries, or at least foreign scammers, and they don't always have a good handle on the English language, and you know that you're not going to get a message from Costco that said that the language is bad, or the logo is incorrect, or anything else just looks funny. Then you know it's not real. So don't continue looking at that website because it's not real. So check out the website in terms of the logo and the language before you proceed to buy anything on them. Internet social sites. There are a number of sites out there, I think called Tinder is one of them, where people go to meet other people. And some of the people on those websites are real and many are not. There are men or women that may have 10 different pictures of themselves and 10 different stories, and the same with women. And they want to attract the opposite sex, and they want to have a relationship with them. And then what happens is they're going to scam you. Some of them are going to scam you if it's not the real person. So there actually was a movie on Netflix called Tinder Swindler about 2 years ago, and a young lady here in the United States fell in love with a guy who ultimately swindled her out of $760,000, and she was like in her 20s, and she said, the rest of my life, I'm never going to be able to pay those credit cards and loans off because that money is gone. I even know of a story of a woman here, a woman in her 50s who met a man that she thought she met on Tinder, and he was supposedly a very successful financier in Europe, and they talked for a while, and he said one day, he talked about how much money he had made, and he said, if you ever want, he said, you don't have to do this, but if you ever want, you could send me some money, I'll invest it for you. So she sent him $50,000, and then he went offline, and she never heard from him again, and it wasn't him, and that money was gone. So there are people out there looking to swindle you. One quick way to determine that is you meet somebody, let's say from England, and you want to meet them, and they want to meet you, and they want to come here, but they're short of cash. Can you send them the money for an airline ticket? The first time anybody asks you for money is a sign it's a swindle coming on, because you're never going to meet them, and you're going to either stop right there or you're going to continue to send them money, but you're never going to meet them. It's just not real. So never send money to somebody you haven't actually physically met, because you think, well, that's a lovely picture. It may be a lovely picture of a handsome or beautiful woman or a handsome man, but the fact is it's not really a picture of them at all, because they may have 10 different pictures up there and none of them are actually them. So be careful. Computer hijacking. So you all probably have heard of things called ransomware. So ransomware is you inadvertently click on some email or website that you are looking at, and that downloads a piece of ransomware onto your computer that takes control of your computer. And then you have to pay somebody to have it removed. And they will often tell you after you pay them, they will remove it. If you do pay them, they may remove part of it. Your computer seems like it's working, but in fact, they can come back and do that anytime they want because they left a piece of malware back in your computer. So if you get something where all of a sudden your computer starts flashing lights or making sounds or looking screwy, turn it off immediately and unplug it from the wall and unplug it from the internet, from your modem and any other things, external connections that you have, and get professional help. Don't try to get rid of ransomware yourself. The ransomware is very complicated, and it takes I'm going to call it a computer genius to know how to do that. If you went to Geek Squad down at Best Buy, or if you have somebody that you know that's very capable with computers, they can get rid of it, because you want to make sure that there's nothing left on your computer, and don't pay anybody, because you're not really getting any protection from them again. Let's talk about door-to-door scammers. If anybody comes knocking on your door, offering to sell you, depending upon your house, a new roof, a pool, or anything, first of all, do not invite a stranger into your house, because then you are physically vulnerable to coercion or threats or harm. So if you think that you want to talk to them, step outside the door in public view and talk to them about it. Never give anybody any money until you check out the company and find out if they're legitimate and they're reputable. Okay, because a lot of door-to-door people are nothing more than scammers. There was about a year ago, there was a whole article on the local television news programs about a company that went around and looked over the yards, fences and backyards, and told people that, you could use a pool in there. Most pools are 50 grand, but I could put a pool in the house in your backyard, because I'll be doing a lot in the neighborhood. I can put one in for 10,000, and then they ask for either 5,000 down or all 10, pay it up front, and you give them the money and you never see them again. Or they come, they dig a little hole, leave a hole in the backyard, and then you never see them, but it's not a swimming pool. So check out anybody that comes door to door and wants to do a job for you, whether it's a new roof, a backyard pool, anything. Check to see with the Better Business Bureau, whether they seem to be a legitimate business. Okay, mailbox theft. There are people who, these scammers, go around and they either precede or follow up the mail delivery services to your mailbox. And around Christmas time, a lot of people mail out gift cards. So they will go around when they know people have put their flag up and the mailman hasn't come yet, and they will take all the mail out of your mailbox looking for gift cards or checks, because then they can acid wash the check. And again, if they acid wash them by changing the name of the thing, they will use a gel. What you should be using is a gel pen, because gel pens can't be acid washed, and you can buy them, I think, for $1.25 at the dollar store. But try not to leave. For example, if you know your mailman comes around 11:30, don't put your outgoing mail the night before, because you're making it easy for somebody to empty your mailbox. The other thing that a lot of them do, not only around the holiday time, but other times, is that they will drive around right after the mail gets delivered. They will, safe distance, they'll follow the mail truck, and they will empty your mailbox looking for checks or gift cards coming into you that they could use. So the best, safest thing to do, if you're going to be mailing checks out or gift cards, is to take them down and mail it at the post office or some legitimate, if you live in a senior residence or something that has a mail station inside the building, use that. I have a friend who has a business. He went down to the River Road post office, and he left a business check going out for $6,300 to a supplier, and he mailed it in the outdoor mailbox, which is up by the road, not in view of the post office. Post office is down away. The mailbox is up there to make it convenient. And somebody came by and fished it out of the mailbox and then changed he wasn't using a gel pen. And I said, how do you know they fished it out? He said, well, first of all, the mail was stolen. And second of all, when the mailman from the post office came to get the mail out, there were all these pieces of fishing line in the mailbox. People put gummy stuff on a fishing line, drop it in, hope it's going to stick to something, and pull it out. And then, when they're finished, they drop the fishing line in because they don't want to get caught with it. So if somebody came by and said, what are you doing? They say, I'm just mailing a letter, and the postman can't prove anything. He doesn't have any fishing line. They can't open it up and say, okay, I see your fingerprints on the line. So that's what happened to him. And so he says now, when he goes to mail anything that has any value, He goes into the post office and mails it. You don't have to stand in line. They always have a drop box inside, but they have cameras and people aren't going to fish out inside the post office. So just be careful, especially if you have important or expensive checks. Be careful where you put them to mail them out. They're always at one step ahead of us. There are postal scams. So scammers will send fake IRS letters and seeking confidential information from you. They will send fake checks and never deposit or try to cash them because they're not real. And some checks actually have printed on them that, and unless you really study them, you won't notice it. The permission that they have, the person giving you the check has the permission to deduct that amount from your account multiple times. So for example, some fake charities will use that and said, we want to show you how much we value your contribution. Here's a check for $500. And then on that check, it allows them every month to try to take $500 out of your account. And people don't read the fine print on the checks, but the bank does. So be very careful when you get stuff in the mail that's too good to be true, because it often is too good to be true. Fake charities also, especially around holiday times, are all looking to raise money. And there's a place called charitynavigator.com where you could put the name of a charity in and it'll tell you how legitimate they are, because it tells you how much money that they, when they raise the charity, how much goes to the people raising the money. So I get a phone call every once in a while from a group, something like the American Police Department or Retired Police Officers Association. I forgot the exact name, but something like that. And it's a national organization. And I looked them up, and yes, it is legitimate in that it is a registered charity, but 97% of the money raised goes to the people raising the money, who are calling you on the phone and asking you. So if you gave them $100, they get $3, and $97 goes to the person calling you. Now, it's a legal charity, but I don't think it's a good investment of your money. So if you get a call from a charity that you've never heard from and you think it sounds really good, go to charitynavigator.org and check it out and see if it sounds like it's worthwhile. And then, in the meantime, ask them to send you an envelope and a letter about the charity, since you haven't heard from them before. So when you check it out, you have all the information, and then you can decide if you want it. Now, some organizations will tell you that they are a cancer charity, and they use a slightly different name than the one you may be familiar with. So if you are familiar with, let's say, American Cancer Society, and you want to give them money, when they call you, say, please send me a note and a letter, rather a letter and an envelope, and I will make a contribution. But at least you know that it's going to the right American Cancer Society and where it's going. Don't rely on somebody to say, yes, well, give me your credit card and I'll put that, tell me how much and we'll put it on the credit. No, I'll send you a check. Make sure you have the control of your account. Don't give it to somebody else. There are fake job scams and fake rental assistance scams. People calling you up and saying, I can get you an apartment. The market price is $1,500, but I can get it to you for $900. But there is a $500 finder's fee. And if you're interested in an apartment, we can do that for you. Those are scams, okay? There are scams for fake jobs. So they will call you up and say, are you interested in getting a job and working from home? And you say, sure. Okay, well, we need X amount of money because we're going to send you an iPad. We'll send you all kind of office supplies you're going to be able to need. And so on, and some of that money goes for a background check for you, and it makes it sound really wonderful. There is no job out there. Anybody who's calling you that for a job like that where you have to send them some money is a scam, okay? Okay, fake Amazon employees. Amazon, either Amazon or somebody else, making believe they're Amazon, or the fake Amazon employee will call you and tell you that that, let's say, a new iPhone for $1,500 was just ordered on your account and is being sent to Lucy Brown in Texas. But they checked and they're not concerned. They're not sure that that's something that you really ordered. So click on them, and then you'll speak to an operator from Amazon, and you will, and then they'll say, okay, was that a legitimate purchase? And you say, no, it wasn't. Okay, well, we need your account number and your password so we can cancel it out. And if you give them your account number and your password, they will go to town on charging stuff on your account. Okay, that was just a way to get into your account. So I get that all the time. Now it's easy because I don't have an Amazon account. So every time they call me and tell me Lucy Brown in Texas or somebody in Alaska orders something, I don't even speak to anybody because they couldn't have charged an account that I don't have. But be careful, because the moment you give them your account number and your password, they can go in. And not only that, the people who then use the same password for everything. There are a lot of people who do that. Make it easy on them, I think. So if you give Amazon, the fake Amazon thing, your password, they will go to Target, they will go to all different places and try to open up an account, see it not open, but go into your account with that same password. And if they get in there, they'll charge the heck out of that account too. And they keep doing that and everything. And there are people who use the same password for a dozen or more just to make it easy. Don't make it easy, because if you make it easy for you, you're making it easy for the scammer. Okay. There are local tax imposters. Some people will call you and tell you they're working for Pima County, and you haven't paid your property taxes or something, and there's going to be a fine. And so the fine is $400 plus the amount of money and they make up an amount of money, say $1,500 on your house. And so we're going to send a police officer to your home to collect the money. And if you don't have it, we're going to arrest you for avoiding paying taxes. And so a lot of people fall for that, and they say, okay, I'll have a check ready. And they give them the check, and off it goes, and then they change who it goes to, and you're out that money, and there was nobody from the county coming to take that kind of money. The county does not do that. Okay, credit reporting agencies. You should, all three credit reporting agencies, which is Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, will give you once a year a free credit report. And that way you could check to see whether anything was charged against your account that shouldn't have been, or if people are trying to open up credit under your name that you didn't ask for. So first of all, if you don't expect to be opening up accounts, new accounts, and you don't expect to be buying, let's say, a car in the next 24 or 12 months, you could put a freeze, which does not cost you anything. You could put a freeze on all three accounts, which means that somebody coming along and wants to charge something to your account can't get any credit information, and therefore they can't go to someplace and say, yeah, I want to buy a car and I check me out, because when the car dealer tries to check them out, all the credit reports come back and say there's a credit freeze, so they can't buy anything under your name if they need to get credit. So it's an easy thing to do. Write down the when you call them, you could or when you go online, you can write down the code that you're going to give them. Sorry.
They got hacked a few years ago.
What?
TransUnion got hacked.
Did they?
Yeah, bad.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
So there goes your.
Yes, but it's better than nothing if they've upgraded it. So if you put a freeze on it, they can't get credit in your name, and then you can always take the credit freeze off if you are going to go out and buy a large ticket item from somebody. Let's say whoever there is going to be, whether it's a car dealer or some other place, and you want to get credit, you could take the freeze off buy it and then put the freeze back on. It's good to leave the freeze on if you can, if you don't anticipate any large purchases. Okay, so the thoughts that I want to leave you with are that you don't have to answer your phone. If you get a phone call and it's from some area that you are not familiar with or some phone number you're not, let it go to voicemail. Okay, and then you can read it, and then later on you can listen to it at your leisure. And if it's a scam, you delete it. If it's not a scam, you can call them back. Scammers use something called spoofing. Spoofing is when the computer that they use just makes up a local number so that they're calling from India, for example, but you get a 520 area code, and then you get that number coming into you. And if you don't know who it is, you can, let me just, 1 second. You can always call them back. But it's an insidious thing. So I was working one day and I got a phone call from my home phone number. There's only one person that lives in my home, my wife with me. So I call and I say, the phone picks up and I say, "Hi dear," and there's a guy who's clearly not my wife, says, "Yes, sir, you're calling back." I said, "Who is this?" And he starts to try to sell me something. I don't know, solar panels, whatever it was. And I just hung up. So they just use a local phone number that the computer gives them. Okay? So we tell people, if you don't know the number coming in, and you're not sure, and you don't even want to waste your time, let it go to voicemail. And then you can look it up later on and say, okay, I don't know who that number's from, or I will call them back and check. But you don't have to answer the phone. Let it go to voicemail and hear what they have to say. Okay, a lot of times the phony calls, they won't really even leave a message. Once they realize that you're not there, they'll just hang up. So that's good. The IRS, by the way, is asking people to file their tax returns as early in the year as possible, which would be early in February. And the reason is that some scammers who have been able to get your Social Security number will often file under a different address. They claim they moved. They file an income tax form under your name with a new address before you get a chance to do it and ask for a refund. So they get a refund. Now you come along in March and file your taxes, and the IRS says, you already got a refund. We're not accepting it. Now you have all kinds of legal problems to get the IRS to recognize that somebody scammed and got into your thing and filed a phony report. So what the IRS is asking for is do it as early as you can in February. It prevents people from filing refund claims under your name to go to a different address. Okay. One of the other scams now is people going down to the recorder's office and trying to change the title of your home to them, saying that you sold the house to them. And then the recorder takes some phony paperwork that they had and records a new address for the new name and new address. And at some point you come along and want to pay taxes or get whatever it is, and they say, oh, no, you sold your house and you moved. So no, you didn't. Well, yes, according to them, you did. If you have a mortgage, excuse me, that's one of the good things about having a mortgage is that the bank will not allow somebody to record a change in title without you, the mortgage holder, coming in and verifying that you sold the house. If your house is paid for free and clear, the banks are not involved. Nobody's involved except the scammer and the recorder's office, and they have no way of checking to see whether you really sold the house or not. So be careful with that. Sometimes it's worth having a small loan, really small loan on the house that the bank requires to be paid off before the house could be sold. Even if it's like $1,000 or $2,000, they want to know, and somebody else is not going to come in and be able to pay it because they don't have the ID to do that. Let me think here. Is
So
anything?
if
Sure.
If you get your tax bill every year, property tax bill, you can be well assured that he's probably still on the home, right?
No,
No?
because if you got a tax bill, let's say twice a year, and the tax bill came in, and then somebody comes along to the recorder's office and says, here, I'm paying for it.
Well, at least in a year's time, you'll know. 'Cause you-
Yes, but by then, somebody else could claim that they want to move into your house, that they bought it. There are people actually, they show up with a moving van, a car. But the people who do this are not people who want to move into your house. They take it and then they sell your house to somebody. So somebody else buys it in good faith. They think it's a great deal. They see pictures of it on the outside and they say, fine, I'll buy it. They buy the house.
Sight unseen.
Well, only through photographs, right? Or they may have driven by it, but they don't come in. And then all of a sudden, somebody shows up with their furniture, and you're living there, and they say, well, I live here. No, you don't. I live here. So you have then a problem. You have to call the police. You have to call attorneys. There are people out there who go down and scan through the recorder's office records to see what houses could be made available for a phony sale. There are people out there doing all kinds of things that we never even dreamed of years ago. Do I have anything else on that? Let's see. Can you scan it up a little bit? Is there anything else on there?
No.
That's it?
That's it, yeah.
Okay, so are there any questions that
So, Ellen, I've got some questions for you first, and then we'll turn it over to your in-person audience. But I've got some questions that have come in online. Can you tell us what scam do you feel that older adults are most likely to experience out of everything that you discussed?
Oh, wow. I am not sure because there are so many out there. So many of them, and nobody's really.
The question real quick.
Oh, the question was, which scams are most often used on older adults? And there are so many out there, and the big problem is that many people never report them. They're too embarrassed. They just feel okay. I mean, I'll give you an example. One, I had the paperwork here. There's a relatively new scam where Mexican cartels go to hotels in Mexico to find out who owns timeshares and are not using them. And then they call the owners, if the owners live in the United States or in Canada, and they ask them if they would like to get rid of it, and they can help them get rid of the timeshare. A lot of people sign up for that. So there was an article in the New York Times within the last year, and one couple, an older couple, had a timeshare that they had bought for $8,000, and every year they had to spend some money, but they weren't going anymore, and they were delighted to get rid of it. So the cartel, using a legitimate Mexican bank, said, okay, well, we need like $2,000, whatever it was, to register your ownership. And then they needed some money to go in there and do some repairs, and they kept stringing them along. This was an older couple, and the man was in charge of their family finances, and he didn't share what he was doing with his wife. And by the last time that he got a phone call, he said, I can't give you any more money to this cartel. He says, I've given you everything that I have. He had given him over $900,000 to get rid of an $8,000 timeshare. And he was too embarrassed to tell his wife. And he said, I'm broke. They said, well, we're going to come and arrest you and put you in a Mexican bank. And that's when he went to the police and said, I need some help and some protection. And they said, don't worry, we'll take care of it. Well, he can't get his money back. But that's a new scam going on for a lot of people, a lot of Americans and Canadians. And so the problem is a lot of them never come to light. So it's a long way around answering the question, which scams are the most popular? I'm going to tell you that it's just the problem is people are too embarrassed to say they got scammed. And if they did, we would know more about which ones are most prevalent. But I don't think anybody should ever be embarrassed about it. These people are very smart, very well trained. They know what they're doing. And we we are not well trained in getting scammed, and so we are very trusting. And
So, yeah, so it sounds like everybody needs to speak up, right? As when if it happens to them, especially because we can let everybody else know about these. If somebody realizes they've fallen for a scam, what should their first steps be?
Call the Tucson Police Department.
Okay.
Okay, ask for the fraud unit,
Mhm.
and
Okay.
they have people in that department that will help you.
Okay, great. Now, what about what can be done to prevent scams with the new access to AI? Because we're seeing a lot about AI now, and it's in everything, right?
I don't know that anything has been done yet that is going to make a difference, except awareness for people to, not click on links they don't know and not answer phones they don't know who's calling, and just by being more vigilant. But I'm not sure, are there any specific things that people can do? I mean, one of the scariest part will be people with AI looking like your son or your daughter calling you and asking for money. Okay, and so you have to be, rather than running to the bank, you have to call somebody who should know who would know the whereabouts of that child, and say, oh no, that child is okay. That's the
Sure.
biggest fear that I have, that AI will impersonate people in your family.
Okay. What about, I mean, there's also a lot of other scams, not AI related, but romance scams, funeral scams, and like reverse mortgage scams. Are you familiar with any of those?
I'm not so much familiar with reverse mortgage scams, other than people going and trying to get the house turned over to them by going to the recorder's office. The reverse mortgage scam, if you have a freeze on your accounts with the credit agencies, it'll be much more difficult for somebody to do a reverse mortgage, because the bank's going to check out your credit before they give it to you on the house, and all of a sudden they're going to find there's a problem there and they won't do it. So I would say that's the best step for reverse mortgages.
Okay.
And your other one, your question was?
Oh, I said also there's a lot out there right now, I think, about romance scams.
Yes, but we talked about Tinder,
Right.
romance scams. Yeah, a lot of them out there, the people on those websites are not the people that you think you're talking to. There have been some reports about sometimes there'll be 10 handsome men or 10 beautiful women on there, all the same person behind it, who are cultivating it. I met a woman at one of my presentations about 2 months ago, who was on one of those websites and fell for this person. And he said he could invest the money for her, and she sent him $70,000 to invest, and then his picture went dark, and she never met him, and that money was gone. And but she said, I thought I was in love with him, and he talked about being in love with me, but it was all a scam. So you have to be careful. And I say the first thing to watch for is the first time anybody wants to do you a favor by asking for some money that they can invest for you, or just have some money that they could come get an airline ticket and see you. If they ask you for any money, it's going to be a scam. Don't do it.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
This was great, Alan. Thank you so much for sharing about the latest that you're seeing out there. I think it's really important for people to know and to stay vigilant in what they do. I think texting has been another big one. I know I get a lot of texts about deliveries that oh, your delivery is running late, and these people don't, I know it's not real.
Right.
And it's because my packages are from Amazon, and Amazon, I can go right to the website and see what's happening. So I think that's another one that I think people, should know about, is oftentimes if they're texting you, it's usually coming from a weird phone number,
Right.
address, to take a look at that as well. I'm gonna wrap up with our online audience and turn it over to you for any questions in person. I just want to thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Okay.
Thanks again for being here. I look forward to seeing you again on Thursday for the Art of Medication Management, Strategies for Safe and Effective Use. If you are interested in coming to this presentation in person, it will be at 10 a.m. on Thursday. Please give us a call in the office. We'd be happy to register you. We will be doing pharmacy consults afterwards, but only for the in-person audience. And so I just want to make sure you're aware of that in case you would like to come for the presentation. So please give us a call if you're interested. The phone number is 520-324-1960. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks so much.